Hey guys, it's Goosebumps Completionist, and today I'm bringing you another book versus episode video. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at Return of the Mummy, book versus episode. Now, the book I gave about a 3.6 out of 5. It's a very fine book, about as average as they come, very flawed, but has its moments to it that I kind of enjoy. And the episode I gave a 3.1 out of 5. I think it attempts to valiantly improve the plot and cut out some filler, but it also has its own injustices to it and some questionable things about it and some really bad performances for the actors. So, yeah, Return of the Mummy, you might be able to guess where I'm going to go with this off the bat, but I think for this one, I'm not really all too impressed with either one. So this one is kind of closer in my brain, even though the points are farther off than normal, that you might think. And I'll get into, some things as we go along in this book versus episode video about them. So, in case you're new to the book versus episode videos, in these videos, we like to run down a few things almost consistently. Sometimes we include things that we don't include in every video, but we'll get into that in just a sec. So the first thing that we like to run down in these videos are characters. Sometimes there's exclusive to episode characters, sometimes there's exclusive to book characters, but for the most part they're going to have the same characters, and we're going to run down which one is better in the book or the episode. Then we like to run down atmosphere, which medium had the better atmosphere, or I guess presence and setting. It's a broad term for that. And then sometimes we bring up two things, aesthetics and tone. In this video, I will not be talking about tone, but we will be bringing up aesthetics, as there are some different aesthetics dealing with the summoner that belongs to Gabe. So we'll bring that up here in the aesthetics for this video. And then we like to go over overall plot, which one had a better overall plot, the climax, which one had a better climax, and then of course the ending, which one had a better ending, right? So let's get into it because we have a lot to talk about. So, Gabe, the main character in both of these stories, which one's better, right? In the episode, you have Daniel DeSanto, one of the worst actors I've seen in the show, playing a character that I think was improved from the first book in this series, Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, where he's actually whiny and annoying. And in this book, he's actually matured. He feels more tolerable. Seems actually likable. The episode just goes back to old Gabe. It's annoying Gabe, and I don't know if it's Daniel DeSanto's acting or how he carries the character, or maybe this was the director who decided this choice. I couldn't tell you. But Gabe is so annoying and almost meme-worthy and cringy in the episode. I can't stand him. I mean, good God. It's hard to watch this, when I'm doing rewatches sometimes. I've seen this episode quite a few times. But it's hard to rewatch this one. It really is. Especially when you know the caliber of acting you're getting. I think after some point you can laugh with his acting, but Jesus. Yeah, Gabe sucks in the episode, so he's going to the book. No question. Sorry. Now this one, I'm on the fence with. I'm honestly on the fence with this. Sorry is annoying in both. She's annoying in both. But the episode, she's kind of held back a little bit. She's not really all that prevalent in the story, even though she's there. She's antagonizing Gabe more so than not. She's kind of, trotting the plot along with some really poor decisions of hers. Like chanting a spell that wakens a mummy, opening a mummy lid when it's probably not a good idea. She just lacks some, common sense. She has some plot armor here. Kind of whatever. It feels like a downgrade to the book here, where she's annoying at first, but after a while, I feel like she came full circle. Not really all the way, because it's not told in her perspective. You only get Gabe's monologue. But I feel like for her character, I feel like in the story, she kind of comes around. And I think low-key realizes that these pranks in these pyramids are not cool and not safe and should not be done. And I think there's some more emotional things with her in the book. Even though I still really like her character. I haven't liked her character all the way before. But I definitely think she's an improvement in the book from the first book in this series, Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. And I think she's a downgrade in the episode from this. So I'm going to give the edge to Sari in the book. Now, Uncle Ben, I feel like this one should be short and sweet. I'm just going to deadlock him here. I can't decide which one I like more. Uncle Ben just feels like a tacked on character here. I mean, he's there, but doesn't really stand out, not really memorable. In the book, he has a little more of a personality. He likes to play pranks. He has some snarkiness to him. And he seems more involved in the story emotionally for Gabe and Sari. So I like how his character is handled more in the book. But overall, if my opinion of his character and what he serves to the story, I mean, essentially when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of what makes this story what it is, the climax, right? He's inactive. So, in terms of this story, I'm just going to deadlock him, like I said. I really don't have a preference. Now, there is a character that's exclusive to the book that's significant enough to bring up. So we're going to bring up Dr. Fielding. He's not in the episode, so he by default goes to the book. But Dr. Fielding, I think, was a little bit wasted potential in the book. I feel like his character could have been handled better than what it was. I think it could have helped the climax near the end. I think it could have added something, maybe another layer to the ending to make it stand out a little bit. But, yeah, I don't really think you're missing much by not having him in the episode. I think it would have kind of added too many characters for a 22-minute episode, right? So, yeah. And I guess we're going to go to the final two characters. Neela, the reporter, in both versions, end up being a huge pivotal part to the story. I think in the episode, she comes across like, I don't know how to put this. She's more obvious to her involvement in the story than the book at first. She's way more obvious here. And I feel like her introduction into the story is very sudden. I feel like some of the scenes that we got in the book are trimmed down to expedite the story, which I can appreciate because, the story does, have, the book had filler, right? And what makes this story is the climax. So the closer you get to the climax, the better, right? But if I'm being honest, I think Neela is just a bit better in the book. Now, if we're going down to brass tacks, what comes of her character in the climax, they're both really rushed. I feel like whenever you figure out something about her character, it's not really, I mean, it makes sense, but it's not really explored too deep. Feels very brisked over and just kind of barreled through, which is kind of a disappointment. But I feel like I got to see more of her in the book, so I'll give the edge to the book. So, that's Neela. And Prince Koru, the villain of the story, or the monster of the story, we should say that. In the book, Prince Koru, I'm not going to lie, y'all, he was lame. And I'm not trying to bash Prince Koru fans. I loved my Prince Koru pillow when I was a kid. And I would still love to get another one. Because I love staring at that thing. Prince Koru was a cool Goosebumps mascot. But as a book villain, or book monster, he's lame. I mean, he's just a generic mummy. Nothing really scary about him. There's not really done anything well with him to create tension in the book. There's that. In the episode, I feel like, well, take it back. The book, there is that thing that he does to Neela. And I guess that works. But in the episode, I don't know. I think I like his look. I think he comes off I don't know, like nightmarish. It's kind of like a Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes thing, right? Mummy, the mummies in these books. I mean, in this one, you can't really see the mummy's face here, so you don't really know what it looks like. So it's an ambiguity in your head. But the mummy costume here looks great. It looks fantastic. I think the changes with the mummy, tying him, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves to the aesthetics, but Gabe Summoner makes more sense for his character. And I don't know, if I had a preference for Prince Koru here, I do like that thing with Neela in the book, but I would probably give it to the episode overall. I think there was a better Prince Koru here. So, yeah, that's just my opinion, though. You might disagree. Now, atmosphere. Both of them, I think, do an okay job at capturing Egypt for what it is. But I want to give praise to the episode for atmosphere, and I'm going to give the edge to the episode overall. I think the book was an inherent downgrade to Curse of the Mummy's Tomb when it comes to atmosphere and Gabe's monologue and how detailed and descriptive it was. I feel like this book was just a lot more sanitized than the first book. Still by the numbers, still predictable, still, kind of cliche. But the atmosphere, I think, was the biggest drawback, that Stein made when he made this sequel. I don't think he put that much effort into creating atmosphere. As in the episode, I want to give a huge round of applause for the low budget this show had. And they created this thing on a set, probably. And it looks great. It honestly makes me believe I'm in a pyramid. It's super believable. It's well done. And when I do rewatch this episode, I don't really skip this episode. I always come back to it because of the setting. It looks great. It looks genuinely awesome. So, the atmosphere goes to the episode. Now, let's run over some aesthetics real quick. We're going to keep this short and brief. Let's talk about Gabe Summoner, right? In the book, his summoner had made an appearance in the previous book as well. But in this book, it's used in the story by the real villain, right? But how it's handled in the book is completely different from the episode. Right. So, in the book, whoever possesses the summoner, essentially, after this thing gets handled with and the summoner reverts back to Gabe's possession, the mummy's like deactivated, right? But in the episode, the summoner has like a mind of its own. It can like crawl. It seems to have like a more eerie presence to it. And I really dig that about it. And on top of that, it takes effort to destroy it to get rid of Prince Koru. So you need it in the spell. And once you do that, you have to destroy the summoner. Which makes the ending kind of confusing. And I don't want to get to that just yet. But nonetheless, yeah, this was a really good change for the summoner. So I'm going to give the edge to the summoner to the episode here. Now let's run to the overall plot. The overall plot is a bit different, and I really, really do not want to skim through all these. But I'm just going to tell you up front which one I think is better. And I'm going to tell you, I think the plot goes to the episode. I think cutting out the filler the book had, with the airplane stuff, arriving in the airport, going over the events of Curse of the Mummy's Tomb for the first 4 chapters, it just takes a while to kick on. And there's a lot of filler in the book, a lot of dialogue wandering around. The episode expedites the plot and improves some areas by adding the cool thing with the summoner, puts Gabe right in the pyramid, cuts out recapping the previous story because for some reason the episodes did not do Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. But for what it was, I think a 22-minute, quick and done version of this story in terms of plot, I prefer. Even though it has some similar sins to the book in terms of its plot, the episode just has, I don't know, it has a better story to tell, but the characters are a drawback from the book. So it's a give and take here, but the episode wins out on plot. Now let's get into the climax. Now the climax, y'all, I'm just going to be upfront. This is a tie because they both suffer from the same issue when the climax. Minus a few details about it, the climax in both are just really rushed when you realize that Prince Koru may or may not be alive in this tomb, and Sari and Gabe have to deal with the penultimate villain of the story, and dealing with that, right? It's just really rushed through, and it's not the most spectacular thing in either version. I think it's slightly worse in the episode, but I can't really say it's better than the book because this episode's pace, it only has a few more minutes left. So it has to be expected. In the book, it was only 118 pages, and, Stein, was known for doing 125, 130 page books. He could have added a few more pages to flesh out the climax in the book. Really no excuse. Maybe this episode could have benefited as being like a 25-minute episode. I highly doubt that, but anyways, the climax is just kind of even to me. It's the same thing. But the ending. Let's see who has the better ending. Now, the book's ending is a bit different from the episode. I don't want to spoil the ending, but essentially, there's something to do with this pendant that he had gotten in the story Gabe, and that's how the book kind of ends on. It ends kind of on a cliffhanger, maybe or may not involve a thing called a scarab, right? As in the episode, it's kind of like that, but not really, because the way the changes in the climax here, right? The ending implies that Gabe had destroyed his summoner to help him get out of a situation, right? But in the end, you still have that scarab thing, but now his summoner are trying to potentially, come back and reignite some things that we saw in the climax. And I'm not going to spoil the extent of it in the ending. But let's just say it's a little bit different. And which one do I prefer? I think I prefer the book's ending because there's a thing involving the scarab in the book that says, like, if you get bit by one, you'll die. And the ending kind of implies something that could happen to Gabe, right? As in the episode, he saw the summoner get destroyed, essentially. And to see it, like, come back and imply to be back, I guess contextually kind of makes sense. Given there's one cutaway scene with Prince Koru's tomb where you think that he might still be alive in there. It could make sense, but why? It's just a really confusing ending. It could have been better. So the ending goes to the book. So yeah, when it comes to Return of the Mummy, which one do I think is superior? The book or the episode? I think the episode did a valiant job with its atmosphere. I think it did a better Prince Koru, in my opinion. I think it had a better overall story, or I guess more engaging plot. But when it comes to the overall product, it really suffers on the presentation of its acting and stuff, downgrading some characters, in my opinion, making them annoying again when they were fixed in the book. It still has some of the same sins as the book, too. I can't really say that it does all that much better, right? But if I'm being honest, which one do I prefer? Which one do I think is better? I'm going to give the edge to the book, right? And I feel kind of bad putting the book above this episode, but I think the book is just more fine and less flawed. The presentation of it, like, with the episodes, you have this visual medium to it. You have this performance medium that the books don't have, right? But just because a book doesn't have the performance medium does not mean that you cannot count it against the episode, right? And I feel like some people remove that performance medium and just judge based on the story and whatnot, if they like the characters. They don't really look at the performance or the presentation side of it hardly. I do, and I think the presentation of this kind of tanks it down to the not good, not bad, and this one is just fine and average. So, yeah. So So the book is superior in my opinion. But this is a book franchise. Goosebumps is a book franchise, and I always will recommend to you, go read the book and then go watch the episode. I honestly think if you're a Mummy person, I think the episode might do it for you and the book might do it for you. I would be shocked if some people thought the episode was better than the book, honestly, but I can honestly understand if, you know, you gave me enough reason for it. But, yeah, nonetheless, yeah, that's my thoughts on Return of the Mummy. Let me know down in the comment section, which one do you think is better? Do you think the book is better? Do you think the episode is better? I'm dying to know. And I'll see you next time.